The following interview segment was taken from Talking Wealth on FLIXX.net. That's FLIXX.net. Talking Wealth is brought to you by Wealth Within and presented by Dale Gillham and Janine Cox. To watch the full episode, go to FLIXX.net, click on the On Demand section, and then click on Talking Wealth under the Finance section. Or for more information, visit wealthwithin.com.au. Chris Collingwood, welcome back to Talking Wealth. How are you today?
Look, really good, Dale, and it's an absolute pleasure as usual to be here.
Yeah, look, it is. It's been a while since we've chatted, but I really did want to sort of get back into, or before we get into the nitty-gritty of today's interview, I sort of wanted to sort of introduce people to you a little bit again because, you know, apart from being somebody I've known for too many years, or maybe not enough years, I don't know, but you're a NLP trainer, a neuro-linguistic trainer. You have a government-accredited course in neuro-linguistic programming. You're a corporate trainer, and so many other things. But you're probably a performance expertise in performance coaching as well. And so I just wanted to introduce that to everybody, just to say, who is this Chris again? Because it's been a while since we've chatted, and you're a great bloke. You're in Sydney in lockdown, and I'm in lockdown in Melbourne, so we may as well sit down and have a bit of a chat. Now, today, we did want to get into discussing a really interesting topic, and one that I find many people struggle with, and that's creating desirable futures. And I thought that was a great topic that you brought up that we could talk about. So you're the performance coach. How about you take it away and start talking about that?
Okay. And I'll just say one more thing. I've got a background in psychology as well. So I've got a psychology undergraduate degree.
I don't want to oversell you, mate. I mean,
okay. But it's relevant in that combined with the NLP technology, we're actually dealing with human psychology and how people think, how people behave. And I remember being struck, I was about 21 years of age, and I became aware that a lot of people that I got to know who were very successful in their personal lives and in their business lives, that they had a vision, they had a project, a passion, a compelling passion in their lives, and that passion was aligned with important, deeply held values, personal values, and so the value, what they were doing out in the world, fulfilling their passion, their dream, their vision for their business, or could be a personal vision. It was aligned with their core values, so their values were being fulfilled by engaging in their passion in the world, and they're very happy people. And you also find, by the way, when you look at people who are depressed, they quite often don't have a compelling project or a compelling passion that they're building for the future. They perceive the world as in a very negativistic way. They see no hope for themselves or their loved ones, and hence they're depressed. But you help them find something, a project that fits with their values, a compelling, desirable future for themselves. That is probably one of the best recipes for dealing with or even preventing depression in the first place.
I know depression's a huge issue at the moment, and a lot of psychological challenges we're having because of COVID, not just in Australia, but around the world, and a lot in obviously Melbourne, where I am. We're in lockdown. We're in 200 odd days of lockdown right now, and Sydney's been in lockdown for a couple of months now, and it looks like it's never going to end. So, and it's a huge issue, but it sounds as if, I mean, obviously what you're saying is there are some people that live life that's congruent with who they are, or their real self, but there are a lot of people that are living somebody else's life or an alter ego's life, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. And it's a great shame. I mean, I'll give you a classic story. Many years ago, I worked with a very good accountant. That was his business. He was a good accountant, properly qualified, the whole thing, CPA, etc. He was pushed into accountancy because it was the family business. So dear old dad was an accountant and a successful one, and grandfather was an accountant. It was the family thing. That's what the family does. It produces accountants. that wasn't his passion. His passion was science. And so he was highly qualified, skilled accountant who was miserable. Now, what he did, very clever thing, when he realized that his real passion was science, and he developed a specialty in working with technology businesses. So he gets to have his values about and his love for innovation and science and engineering met through having those types of clients. And so that passion is then fulfilled. And of course, he talks passionately with his clients, and so they're very happy to show him around, their factories, their workplaces, their laboratories, and so on. And of course, he then gets his passion for science taken care of. And I thought he worked it out for himself. I really respect him. It was a very clever thing to do to solve a problem. So a lot of people, in his case, the values, the career were hoisted onto him by the family, and it's very common. And then you meet men, but also women, who end up doing things, projects and so on, or trying to fulfill their partner's values rather than their own. And then they wonder why they they become miserable. Well, they're fulfilling, as you say, they're trying to fulfill other people's values rather than their own.
Yeah, but it's common though, isn't it? It really is common.
Well, even before the lockdown. So this COVID, these lockdowns have actually exacerbated a serious problem that was there to begin with. So 2019, there was a study done. The number one reason people go to a GP, mental health issues is the number one reason. And when they look into that, the number one mental health issue was anxiety disorder. The number two was depression. Those are the two big ones. And there are huge numbers of people in the population who have either anxiety disorder or some sort of depressive disorder, or worse still, have both. And it's a terrible statistic. And of course, being in lockdown, a lot of people, all it does is it just makes it worse.
Yeah, I know. I constantly hear people talking about, I'm not having my job, or I don't seem to be able to get to where I want to go. I'm not getting the outcomes that I really want. I'm not, I'm so old. I'm this old, and I've really not achieved things in my life that I thought I'd achieve. And this whole lot of self-talk really comes going through. And obviously, that accountant you were talking about, he's found that way to fulfill his values and his core beliefs. But how does somebody how do they elicit those in themselves? Because often we're not, they're transparent to us. We're not really sure what they are. But how does somebody go, well, I'm not really happy doing this job. I'm not getting where I want to go. How do I find out how to be congruent and then make the changes? So
it takes I call it a values audit. In fact, I designed a process for it now. In the world of psych, there are tests you can do, but they're kind of set. They're a standardized thing that people then find out what values that they have based on the test. A much more useful way is find out what your values are yourself. And so the approach I developed is you review your life and think about what are the various activities and contexts that when you're doing those activities in those situations, that you are happy. So happiness is an emotional response, an emotional state that really is a measure. So when I feel happy, it's because some value that I carry has just been met. So something's important, it gets fulfilled, I feel happy. So happiness is a feedback type of emotion. So you review and you go, well, I love traveling, for example. That's one of the things I absolutely love doing. I like traveling to places I haven't been to before, of course. So it's not just going to the same old place. So all you do, let's say you love traveling, you put yourself back into a memory of having a wonderful time traveling. And I can ask you a simple question, or you can ask yourself and you just have a notepad and just note it down, the answers. And the question is, hey, what's important in that activity? So when you're traveling, having a wonderful time, what's important in that experience of traveling.
Is it people? Is it places? Is it
whatever
it is?
Meeting new people,
Activities.
being exposed to new experiences, whatever that, and you just write those things down, and those are values. And you just do that audit for everything, and I mean for half a dozen really important contexts of your life. So if you've got a favourite sport that you do, your work. Now I know that you're passionate about the work that you do. You're passionate about your business and what you're doing to help other people to become financially free. So I want to ask you here, but you put yourself into relive the experience of doing your work, which you're passionate about, and you simply ask yourself again, hey, what's important in doing this? And the secondary question is, what else is important in doing this? And there's a little more that you can do as well, but to keep it simple, those two questions are adequate, and you just start getting lists. You make those things down. And when you examine a range of different situations, let's say there's half a dozen contexts, you're going to find that some of the values are going to be there in all the contexts. And they tend to be the really important ones. And then based on that now you've got a foundation to start thinking about what you want to do if you're looking for a project or a career change. Some people want a career change. The person that says, I hate my job and, I'm not happy and I feel like I haven't, achieved what I want to achieve in my life, that type of stuff. Do the values audit, find out what are the core values, what are the values that run across, that are reproduced across multiple situations, and then consider what type of activities, career, projects could I do where those values are more likely to be fulfilled.
I've said so many times to people over this past 12, 18 months-ish with COVID, and I said, and they were complaining, and I go, well, that's a first world problem, look at the people in Afghanistan right now, So we don't have a problem, but treated it. You can look at it. You can choose to go, this is a negative thing happening to me, or I can do something about it. And I said, it's a perfect opportunity to take a breath and go, okay, what's going on, and what do I truly want and desire, and then start to move towards that, because you're at home and there's only so much Netflix you can watch. Everybody's at home, some people aren't working, but use the opportunity to do something that's like you enjoy. And mine has been getting back and reconnecting with my guitar, getting out there, my guitar and playing. Now, to me, that's something I really enjoy doing, and I like being that creative side of me rather than just all that logical type stuff, the financial side of me. And so it's really interesting. And I was interviewing another great Australian, Amanda Gore, just recently, and she was saying that she spends most of her life travelling the world, which she can't do right now, and she's stuck in her house, in Queensland, in a beautiful part of Australia. But she's discovered gardening, and she's getting so much joy and pleasure out of gardening and doing these things. And she also realised that she didn't actually have a life outside of that travelling. She had no community. She had no connections to the community that she actually owned a house in and lived in. And she's reconnecting on a lot of things. And I thought that was interesting. And to me, COVID's allowing us to do that at the moment. So examining those, our values, I think, is really core to that.
Oh, absolutely. And so a very good friend of mine, who, by the way, plays the guitar, and he's got a collection of guitars, and he's an IT guy. But before he got into IT, he was in a band back in the 80s. So he's my generation. Well, he's our generation.
Yeah, wore the flares, everything else, long hair.
The flares, the
lamb chops.
The lamb chops. I remember those days when I had hair, yes. And it's a long time ago, but...
hair today, gone tomorrow, yep.
That's right. Well, what he's always wanted to write a novel. He's written a novel. So he's in lockdown, so he wrote a novel. Good on him.
Good on him.
And it's one of the things he's always wanted to do. He's gone and done it.
Perfect.
So it's what you do with the circumstances you're in that's important. And if you know your values, then that can assist in working out what sort of things you could do in which your values can be fulfilled. And so it is an opportunity. It's a challenge as well, but challenges are really good for people as well. They're healthy for people.
Yeah.
And it's simple to do. Just if you want to do it, for anybody listening to this, watching this, you can do a values audit. Just reflect on your life and think about some of the favorite things you've done in life. Put yourself, mentally relive the experience, put yourself back into the memory, and ask yourself what's important in doing this at that time, and what else is important. Just take a few notes, and it can be quite surprising what you discover.
Yeah, totally agree. I know my mentor, Wayne Berry, who's now passed away, and who you know as well. When I had some dark times and thinking like I was stuck and I think, I don't know how am I going to get out of this? He said you can either stay where you are or spiral down, or you can move out of that. And he said, when you move through this, you'll come out the other side leaner, meaner, better, more successful, more everything. And he said, whilst the dark clouds seem insurmountable now, the future really is good, but you need to decide where you want to go. And that's really what is happening now in the community right across the world. Is we now get choices to decide how we want life to be in the future. And to me, that's the exciting part. And going through those values is, and listening those, I think, is really critical.
Oh, absolutely. So that's one very useful exercise. That's really, it's simple to do. It might take a little time. So what? If you're in lockdown, you've got the time.
Yeah.
And there's some other related things too. And I fully agree with what Wayne said, in that finding challenge is really healthy, but also perceiving opportunity. And there are a couple of things that relate to that. I'm thinking about what they call flow states. I prefer a type of flow state called a high performance flow state. And very interesting work has been done in psychology on what flow is. But just to summarize very quickly, a person's in a state, they're doing something they're skilled at. The context has enough challenge, but not too much. So it has to have some challenge in it for flow to naturally develop. They're totally, fully engrossed and engaged in the experience, as if nothing else exists in the world.
Perfect.
Now, we've all had examples of doing that. Yeah, I'm thinking about traders. Somebody who's an exceptional trader often will be gathering information, making trading decisions, and executing trades while in one of these content-free, these high-performance flow states. And they can be cultivated. So in our work, we know how they're structured. So there are exercises for building that in. But I think from the psychology point of view, what's interesting is they only occur spontaneously and naturally in the world when the person is in a challenging context, a challenging situation. And the key is having enough challenge, not too much, but not too little. So you've got to have just the right amount of challenge. And you often see this in sports people. I'm thinking about the golfers talk about being in the zone. Or you see this with the AFL. Oh, sorry, for American viewers, Australian football. Very important sport here in Australia, and it's unique. But when you look at somebody who's performing really well, they're up against a competitor team, which is very good. And so there's enough challenge where hopefully the entire team, but key players come to the forefront. They enter into a flow state, and you talk to them afterwards, whether it's the golfer or the football player, or the cricketer or the baseball player, whatever. Why they're in that state, it's like nothing else exists. There's nothing else exists in the world. They're fully engrossed, engaged. They're in a state of flow.
I would love to explore that a lot more with you, but we've run out of time. I'd love to be sitting here for another hour explaining all about it and how you get into those flow states with people, but we do have run out of time today for our interview. But before we go, can you tell people how to find out more about Chris Collingwood and all the things you do?
Okay, two best places, our website, nlp.edu for education.au for Australia. So nlp.edu.au, but also I'm one of a handful, only a small number of Chris Collingwoods I think I'm under my full name, Christopher Collingwood, on LinkedIn. And I'm the only Christopher Collingwood on LinkedIn in Sydney. And my profile's pretty comprehensive as well.
Well, you are unique, aren't you?
Well, there's not many Chris Collingwoods around, so
Cool.
or Dale Gillhams for that matter.
Well, that's true too. Well, Chris Collingwood, again, it's been a pleasure having you on Talking Wealth. You take care, mate, and I'll talk to you soon again.
A pleasure to be here. Thank you.
For more information on our guest in today's episode, visit the link on screen right now. For more Talking Wealth, visit FLIXX.net, click on the On Demand section, and then click on Talking Wealth under the Finance section. That's FLIXX.net. Or visit wealthwithin.com.au, where we have hundreds of informational videos, live shows, and Talking Wealth podcasts. Talking Wealth was voted number 3 in stock market podcasts globally in 2018 by FeedSpot. For more information on our courses, visit wealthwithin.com.au.